Right. I think the hour has come and it's time to get the show on the road. So I would like to welcome all of you for joining us this afternoon or this morning from wherever you are joining in from us to join us. And thank you for being here. But first, before we get the show on the road, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we operate and pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. So since our last open day, we're pleased to announce that we have made many significant strides forward. So on our first open day, we had 44 registrants attending the open day. And today I'm proud to announce that we have grown to several hundred which have registered for today's event. This has been as a result of a constant marketing message, gain credibility, and CTIA really making our mark on the education space. So, and our programs have been put to the test of our peers, against our peers, and we have come out trumps to ensure that our programs are job ready. Cyber Mums is alive and well, starting to kick goals, creating awareness for skills and mums wanting to join the industry who previously thought that cybersecurity was a career for only techies with hoodies and basements. Being out in the trade, employment, and skills and expos is always a treat, speaking to people face to face, as opposed to being behind our computer screens. So keep an eye out on our socials for when we're next coming to your area and when we can meet up face to face. Our weekly newsletter has gained a ton of momentum over the last year, with heaps of useful information on industry trends, employment opportunities, course offerings, and everything else that's going on at CTIA to keep you up to speed. If you're not subscribed to our mailing list, our production crew will drop the email address, the link to join our mailing list, and it's definitely a mailing list that you want to be a part of. So click on that. Just some housekeeping before we continue. Being a live event, you won't be able to come on mic, unfortunately, although we'd love to hear from you. But please pop your questions into the Q&A box below, and we will answer any of your questions either as we go through the session or at a Q&A session at the end of the program. Now, if we run through our plan for the day as to how the day is going to pan out, we are privileged to have Sean Finn and Charlene Clark join us today, two highly acclaimed industry experts, which I will introduce to you in just a moment. And then we'll have our General Manager of Training and Education for the Risk to Solution Group, and Chris Douglas, as well as Linus Hogan, our lead career consultant, joining us, giving you some information on the program, how to register, and how to get involved. And then we have our student that is enrolled in our current cohort, who's actually coming to the end of our current cohort, who will share a few insights from him. We will then have a word from the Vice President of Wawiwa, where our program material comes from in Israel, and we'll wrap that up with a few unanswered questions. So without any further ado, let's move on to having a chat to our two panel experts, how a cyber security career can secure your future. So our first guest today, Sean Finn, who is the Capability Manager for Cyber Architecture at Boeing Defence Australia. Sean has deep experience in providing mission-critical ICT in internet-facing e-commerce systems and operational technology systems for mining, for defense, and for aviation. Sean has acted in the final technical escalation point for incident response for over 20 years for these environments, and has a deep passion for incident preventing and automating security into the software supply chain. Then we have Charlene Clark dialing in all the way from WA. Charlene, thank you for being with us. So Charlene is the Managing Director of Catalyst Central, the Founder and Chief Vision Officer of Exodus Tech, the Founder and Chief Vision Officer for MetaEve, and the Founder and Chief Vision Officer for Job Activator, and is the DEI lead for Whitwer in WA. And that's all before lunchtime. Charlene's vision is to create an empowered community by providing opportunities and assisting businesses in sustainable growth. Charlene, Sean, a great pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for giving of your time to join us, and I look forward to picking your brain on a few pressing issues that that we're facing, specifically with regards to education and employment today.
Thanks for inviting us, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Can everyone see Charlene and Sean? Are you up on screen? Great. Hopefully everyone can see you. Fantastic. Right. So let's kick off, and maybe if I can start with you, Sean. As an employee of a dead-ended job, right? What would getting a cybersecurity capability add to reposition myself in my organization? So to rephrase that,
yeah.
I go to work in a non-related IT type environment role.
Yeah.
I want to progress my career, and do I create a cyber capability even though I don't necessarily want to go into cybersecurity? What value would that add to my role within my organization?
Yeah, sure, Dave. Look, that's a great question, especially for people trying to pivot from one area into cyber, because cyber is really interesting, and we've got to bring people in from other industries and draw them into cyber. So we've got to cross-skill them. So it's all about how we position ourselves and harness the experiences we have within our existing organisation. So if we're in a perceived dead-end job and ready to make a move, we've actually learned essential skills related to the operation of the business that we're in. So even a dead-end job has its experiences, right? We understand the processes and procedures and the practical applications of the systems that we work in, whether it's anything from like cleaning through to maybe serving customers in a retail space or something like that, or even making pizza. So if we look at the currency of Domino's Pizza, he started in a store at the base level, right? That's a perceived dead-end job, but he's risen all the way up. And the way that he did this is he could see from the ground floor what the pain points were and any potential gaps. From a cyber perspective, having those hands-on experiences means that we really understand it. And if you understand cyber, this enhances your own individual capabilities to have a common language to speak up through the organisation and really call out the things that you see in a language that the organisation understands. So you know how to practically harness that skill set, and you make yourself more valuable to your organisation in a shorter time frame that way.
Let's carry on that conversation, Sean. And I think it's particularly interesting from where you sit and through your lens of someone in business wanting to employ someone. Now you advertise for a position. Cybersecurity is the flavor of the month. Everyone believes that cybersecurity, is a lucrative career, lots of money because there's such a skill shortage. So we all believe that that everyone wants to get inundated with resumes. So Sean, if I could ask you, what are the CVs or the resumes that would sort of make it to the next round of interviews and would spark your interest, or what would a CV look like? Or what should the ones that would sort of be non-starters and kind of, close that one and not moving forward?
Yeah, sure. Look, that's a really great question. So I'll refer to the Australian Information Security Association. They recently released a report on what hiring managers look for, and when I read this report, I had an aha moment, and it's what I look for too. And it comes down to three key things that stand out: attitude, aptitude, and also experience. So demonstrated interest in cyber communities such as ASA and undertaking cyber training shows an attitude of learning and growth, like getting out there and you going and getting that like being part of cyber communities and doing cyber stuff is absolutely part of it. You've got to show that you're self-driven. aptitude can be demonstrated in a variety of ways, generally through home experimentation or evidence of continual learning and tinkering. These are ways to not just be shown what to do, but also to self-educate and show that you're trying to draw in experiences from everywhere. And that type of aptitude for it, you look for somebody who has some sort of indicator that they're kind of good at this stuff, right? And you do that through tinkering and playing around with things, and experiences. So the other key factor is experience. If you've got examples of already having worked in the field, that's a type of experience, but you don't have to. Whether it's training in a simulated cyber lab on lab-based systems such as the ones Cybertech Institute offer, or if you're actually battling advanced persistent threat groups in cyberspace itself, not everyone gets the opportunity to do that, but some of those experiences are the same. So when I'm looking at candidates, I'll look for, you've got to have the right attitude, that learning mindset, and an aptitude. You've got to have a kind of an ability to work in the field, like some indicators that, or experience. But what I'm finding is that not everybody has all those three. We've got such a shortage of people out there in the marketplace that not everyone comes with all three. So what I generally do is look for strength in two of those areas and the ability to grow into that third area of either attitude, aptitude, or experience. And if people show that they've got an ability to progress in that, like let's say you've got no experience, great, that's the missing ingredient. We'll give you some experience and we'll upskill you. That's one of the key things.
That's so interesting, and you raised a lot of very interesting points there. But before I comment on that, Charlene, what would you be telling your clients when they're looking for a cyber capability within their organization? What should they be looking for in terms of the resumes that they see? Which one are the ones that are going to be non-starters, and which are the ones that are going to make it to the next level?
Yeah, and I can definitely wear kind of two hats for this one, right? Because in one respect, I've got more than 15 years experience in human resources, and then on the other, I'm a business owner of multiple companies, and I'm very time precious, which means that for the time that I invest and put into something, I want to make sure that it's really, adding value in the right way. So I'm going to be honest as part of this and say I actually no longer shortlist applications for my companies. I delegate that task. So and that's a really critical aspect, right? Because the reality of the recruitment process is your resume is likely to be first read by someone who is not going to be your manager in the future. It's probably going to be a recruitment person or someone who is reviewing applications to then shortlist and pass that application on to the person who's actually going to make the hiring decision. So when it comes to that of, well, how do you even get past the first stage, right? So when I'm looking for someone new, I provide a criteria and I go, well, so say, for example, I am looking for someone with cybersecurity capability. I'll advise my recruiter to look for certain keywords, look for certain training courses and relevant position titles as kind of that first pass. Then once I receive the shortlisted applications, I then start to look at it and go, okay, what kind of language is being used? What kind of vibe am I getting from the person? So just because of my personality and who I am and the people I like to work with, I tend to look for positive language and lessons learned, success, solutions, problem solving. You can really tell a lot about someone's capability in the way in which they've written a resume, less so around their grammar, because not everyone's, an English major. It's less about the grammar and more about how you've structured to portray the kind of culture that you would bring into my organization. So we kind of first look for that right education experience keywords, then we look for that undertone of cultural fit, and then we start to do phone screening. So there's just a bit of insight there around what are some of the things that might get your resume through versus what might not. Now, a big aspect, particularly this early on in the emerging occupations that are coming out of technology worker space, when we look at these applications, to be honest with everyone on the call, only 19.5% of ICT professional applicants are actually qualified. So when you think about that, let's round it up to 20%. Only 20% of the people applying for jobs are qualified. The other 80% don't have a qualification. Although they might have experience, they don't have that core foundational framework that you would hope that applicants have, particularly in the cybersecurity space. Then you've got I'm talking to WA only, but in WA only, 67% of professional vacancies are being filled, which means that we've actually got 33% of vacancies in this space that are going unfilled simply because we don't have the skills in the field. And that's because nationally, we know that 4 out of the 57 identified occupations are a national shortage with strong future demand. 4 of those occupations are actually technology workers, and we know cybersecurity is a part of that. So, what's going to push you forward and putting it into that positive spin of what's going to make you stand out from the rest, it's going to be having a qualification. That alone would get you shortlisted, and then from there you can actually have a conversation, right? It then becomes about the personable relationship, the culture, the fit, proving the skills that you have. The resume is kind of that covering little bit of please pick me, please have a chat with me. It's kind of like your version of a business card.
Incredible. It almost wants you to be able to apply for positions via video link rather than a resume, if everyone had the time to watch a video link. Because it seems attitude, impressionability, your ability to work are the things that are really going to get you over the line, and it's quite difficult to translate that into a resume. But yet very, very valuable insights there, which dovetails, Charlene, to your points that you recently made. That dovetails quite nicely into the next question of qualifications, right? So you're now either looking to employ someone in a cyber capability, or from an HR perspective, you're advising a client on what sort of capability or what role, what skills need to be filled. Now, what are the major pitfalls that employees or prospective employees fall into when gaining a cyber qualification when it comes to applying for a job? So, they want to upskill their career. What are you identifying as the major pitfalls that people are, the traps essentially that people are falling into when deciding either A, I want to get a career in cybersecurity, and going for the wrong, either the wrong program, the wrong course, or the wrong qualification, or the wrong level of engagement, or upskilling? Are they upskilling too far? Are they not understanding the fundamentals? What are you picking up in terms of what's coming through? Sean, if I could throw this one to you for a start.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, look. I'll say it 3 times during this. The number one pitfall is cyber is not just technical. So cyber at its core, it's about protecting information assets at a business level. It's about protecting what's important to us. That's the key. We want to protect the confidentiality or the integrity or the availability of the data or any other information. Cyber is a broad universe covering things like governance, risk and compliance, policy, differing global frameworks depending on where we're operating in the world, and getting some systems accredited if you're working in healthcare, et cetera, as well as the operational and technical aspects, the doing bits. So effective cyber isn't just technical. That's the second time I've said it, and I'll say it again a little bit later. It's not just technical implementation. It starts with understanding what we're trying to protect, where those things are vulnerable, and where a vulnerability meets a threat, that forms a risk. So ultimately, it's really all about risk and protection from risk. Cyber implementation is taking a risk-based approach, protecting what's most at risk through to the least at risk in an orderly fashion, and doing it continuously as new vulnerabilities and therefore risks emerge. Having a broad understanding of risk and threat, coupled with the ability to understand the technical aspects of attacks, and more importantly, how to implement controls, technical controls, and other non-technical controls. That's foundational knowledge to cyber. You've got to have that broad base first. So the last time I'm going to say it is cyber isn't just technical. It's an entire universe and domain of risk, threat, governance, compliance, frameworks, and understanding things at a business level. Ultimately, about protecting the things that are important to us.
Charlene?
Yeah, I really love what Sean's just said there. So the fact that cyber isn't just technical, and so often people mistakenly think that it is a hugely technical field, and it can be, but it doesn't have to be. So I actually think most people face an internal limitation and barrier, particularly when they're thinking about upskilling or reskilling or changing careers or progressing in a different direction. It's that self-limiting belief of, like, I've never done this job before, so I'm not qualified to apply. I don't have the base understanding. I don't know anything about computers. I don't know anything about coding. What would I know about a hacker? Because everyone, when they think about cybersecurity, thinks of hackers. And even that alone, it misunderstands all the different kinds of cyber breaches and data breaches that you could actually face. So, I really like the fact that Sean's pointed out there. It's not. It can be a digitally technical field, but there's so many more policies and legislations and governance frameworks that sit around that as well. So I would really encourage people to then kind of reframe that for themselves and go, okay, it's about asking myself, am I interested in this topic? Is this something that I can personally really get interested in, get behind, and want to learn more about? Is it something I could feel passionate about? So am I willing to learn it and apply myself and apply what I learn in the future in a practical setting? And then it's really about, do I have the problem solving and critical thinking required to navigate a new subject area? So rather than thinking about all the reasons this is not for you, think about what you want, the direction you're heading, and if that's something you want, then kind of go after it. The reality is no one's an expert. And if you had to talk to me 3.5 years ago, I didn't own and run a business. I was a HR business partner. Now I'm a HR business partner. I run and own companies. I build tech software. I'm still learning to code. I'm still learning about UX, UI. I'm still learning about this entirely new space of, delivering software products. So, add in cyber to that and protecting data in HR systems and everything else. It's the reality is everyone's progressing and learning. It's about your individual desire to want to continue to do that, rather than focusing on your pitfalls and barriers. Focus on your solutions.
Such a fantastic note to round up on. And we've already gone over time, and there's so much more that I really want to unpack from the two of you. I mean, we're very grateful to have the knowledge and expertise of the two of you on the call today. But I just want to round up with one last thought from each of you. It's no secret we're operating in what we call a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, which is a constantly changing landscape, which, before years gone by, we used to live in a world with predictability where we could sort of map out what the next 5 or 10 years of our future would look like. Gone are those days, and things can happen in a heartbeat. So what would be your one key takeaway piece of advice that you would offer a prospective student or our attendees on the call? How would you best future, from a cyber perspective, naturally, how would you best future-proof your career going forward, whether that's a future in cybersecurity or whether that's a future in anything else for that matter? What is the key takeaway that you would offer our attendees today? How to best future-proof your career in a VUCA world?
All right, Dave, that's a fantastic question. So the nature of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, especially in cyber, is the cyber train is going to continue to grow and evolve as tech evolves. It wasn't what it was 10 years ago. It won't be the same in 10 years. So methods and exploitation of techniques are going to be developed, and they don't even exist yet. So what we need to do, my one key takeaway point would be start with a wide scope, a broad understanding of cyber, the entire cyber terrain, and establish a solid base across all of the different domains of cyber, from governance and policy right through to the tech side, and that's going to set you up for success in your career ahead. Then, as you've building off what Charlene was just saying, as you begin to like lean into different areas of becoming interested, the cyber universe is so broad. You can hyper specialize in many different areas, but as long as you understand that broad base, then you'll know what's going along alongside you in cyber. And as they say, if you want to go far, go with a team. Don't go alone. Go with a team of other cyber professionals. Hyper specialize where you want and pivot into the areas you want. There are so many different areas in cyber right throughout your career that if you get bored in one, you can pivot across. But start with that wide scope base of understanding.
Absolutely. Charlene?
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of mirror that a little bit, because the reality is it's important to remain flexible and open to new opportunities within yourself, particularly when we are faced with this VUCA world. It means that we internally and individually need to remain adaptable and flexible. So particularly in cyber, as new threats arise, we need to remain educated, and we are unfortunately going to be a little bit reactive in this space. So you really need to think about formal education becomes your foundational understanding, and then remain educated beyond formal education. So don't let that stop. Stay inquisitive, continue learning even after your training is complete. And then realistically, it's going to make you highly desirable to any organization, because you're going to constantly be at the forefront of what's going on, which is going to make you a valuable person to talk to and provide guidance and advice. And then that really ties into growing your understanding of the cyber field, looking at all those different areas that Sean's been talking about over time, and then consider your own strengths and align yourself to your strengths to pick where you want to go, because then you're always going to be passionate about what you're doing. And I think that's probably one of the most critical aspects of really future-proofing your career, is making sure you stay passionate about what you're actually working in.
Charlene, brilliant insights as usual, and I really appreciate it. And like I said, we've gone 10 minutes over time already, but I feel that the content that we were sharing was really worth it. And I think that our attendees gained a lot of knowledge and wealth. We do have a couple of questions that have come through. I am aware of them. But before we get to those, so just firstly, a big thank you, Charlene, Sean, if you wouldn't mind, if you're able to stay on the call with us for a little while longer, just to get to the Q&A in a bit. I'm going to now hand over to our General Manager of Training and Education for the Risk to Solution group of companies. I'm sure you well know that the Cyber Tech Institute of Australia is a proud member of the Risk to Solution group of companies. And our General Manager, Chris Douglas, is up next to take us through the enrollment process, what that would look like, with our lead career consultant, Linus Hogan. Gentlemen, if I could hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dave. Probably the biggest thing that comes through in regards to any form of tertiary education is the compliance factor. And part of compliance is the prerequisites. So for any tertiary education that you undertake in Australia right now, you've got to be able to fulfill language literacy numeracy compliance requirements. There's also a prerequisite from our side for your systems orientation. So in regards to the systems, we do have a minimum spec. And if you can see the PowerPoint presentation there straight away, computers should be running Windows 10 with at least 8 gig of RAM and 2.8 gigahertz processor and a minimum internet bandwidth of 10 meg per second. So probably the biggest thing there is, as long as in general, a computer or laptop that's within the last 5 years will generally fulfill those requirements quite easily. The other part of the assessment or the actual protocols with enrolling into this course is the requirement, or not so much the requirement, as we do offer an assessment tool, which takes about an hour to complete, and it walks you through standard testing questions, and it helps you align what your thoughts and wants are, along with sort of practical applications. So it gives you a design pathway, and that can be part of your professional, the recommended program that best matches your skill set. So it might not be the Cert 4 in cyber security, it could be another program that we offer. So there's just some of it. If I can just point out our upcoming cohort, which is going to be jumping in our Cert 4 cohort. We have an orientation day penciled in for the 24th of January 2023. That there in itself is really to get you used to the systems that we use. Everything that we use is via the Wawiwa system. However, there is certain orientation factors that we need to include in that. Part of that is we will walk you through how to log in to the sessions, how to access that, where your reminders are going to come from, those sorts of things. And then the actual course itself will kick off in the beginning of February. The lessons, I think we're looking at the expected time of Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that would be in the evening. And your graduation would follow on from the back end of that one around November 2023. So from there, I'd probably jump down to where we can guide, and I might hand that over to you, Linus, if you wouldn't mind, mate. Jump in there.
What's part of your actual program towards the end? You will actually get a little bit of instruction, a little bit of assistance on how to prepare yourself for the real world once you've qualified. As you can see on the slide there, we'll help you with a bit of CV preparation. We've got a strong, as it says, collaboration with tech industry leaders. You've already spoken to one of them in Sean, or listened to one of them in Sean there. And essentially, it's one of the things that sets us a little bit apart from other institutes, is we're actually trying to help you pathway from your studies into actual employment. As it says, over 70% of our graduates find a job in the new profession within 2 months. That is our target. We actually try for a little bit less, but within 2 months is pretty fair. If we go on to the next one there, you'll see what sort of investment you'll be looking at as well. So fees for the year, 7,696.50. Everything that's down at the bottom is included in that. A little bit of what would be required of you as well. I think Chris touched on the aptitude assessment there. What that entails, to give you a little bit more detail, it asks you certain questions that will direct you to a more suitable pathway than what you might have thought you were initially. In terms of your tuition payment, we've got a couple of options there that you can see. We also do have various months available within that, so you just have to give us a ring and we can help you out with those. So you do receive both a digital certificate as well as a formal certificate, which we will send out in the mail. It does look very nice and great to have on your CV. Obviously nationally recognized as well. Where you do benefit a little bit is it also comes with Wawiwa's alumni community. In terms of Wawiwa, although we're powered by Wawiwa, as in we get a lot of our course content from them, as they are the leaders in content, and we have had extremely good feedback on the difference between the content we provide in our course as to what's offered by other institutes. Ours seems to come back a lot more practical. What Wawiwa's alumni community will provide you with is the ability to talk to people, not just within your own community, but also in the international community. Wawiwa themselves have many partnerships with many prominent organizations internationally. So yeah, that's pretty much what you'd be looking at by joining us. Doing our cybersecurity program. As you can see, it's fully accredited nationally, and as we all know, Australian qualifications are actually well sought in the rest of the world. We do have a fairly good track record. So yeah, I'll hand that one back to you now.
And Linus, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the alumni from Wawiwa over the past 20 years have found themselves working in Silicon Valley in places like Google and Facebook and Amazon and those sorts of things. So the course material is very, very highly regarded. But don't take my word for it. Take the word of a student that we have got currently enrolled in our current cohort. John, it's an absolute pleasure to have you join us, and thank you for giving of your time to join us today, to come on and chat to us. Thank you for being here. John, mindful of our time, again, thank you for joining us and being on the call with us today. Quick question, what sparked your interest to start a career in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so I guess I was kind of in the dead-end job for a long time. Had an opportunity to leave that and start something new, and found an interest in cyber, and yeah, started looking for courses and found that a lot of them were very hands-off and stuff like that, and then found Cyber Tech Institute, and yeah, that's I've found a real passion for it, and it's always something that I wanted something that's always going to challenge me, and it's always new and evolving, and it's obviously a huge field, or will be. So yeah.
John, what are the highlights that you've experienced during the last sort of 7 months through the cohort?
I guess things like I actually look forward to class, because a lot of it is doing practical work and finding tools that I would never find by myself. Actually working on them and using them and seeing the potential of what they can do. And I think like the fact that the teachers actually have real life stories and show examples of things that they've used in the field to help get the point across, it makes it really exciting.
That's brilliant. You know, gone are the days where you loathe getting up and going to school. It's quite nice to get up and go to school. John, comparatively speaking, you've obviously spoken to peers that are also doing Cert 4s through other institutions. What feedback do you get from them when you sort of compare notes with regards to, what are they doing versus what you're doing? How do the courses differ from what your peers are doing, similar courses at other institutions?
Yeah, so the main thing would be other students that I spoke to, they've kind of done their course, or they're doing their course, and it's recorded sessions if they're lucky. A lot of time it's just load up a website and go through it, and if you have a problem, send a message to a teacher and hope to get a reply in 24 hours or something like that. And they pretty much just do the theory and then that's it. Whereas this one, when you do the classes, you might do an hour of theory and then it's like 3 hours of actually using the tools, and you've got the teacher right there that is doing the same thing. A lot of the time I end up, presenting my screen, and I'll go through it with the teacher, pulling up if I need help or I'm stuck somewhere. So that's a big difference that I found with other students.
And I think it's also just worth noting there as well that the courses through CTIA are, although they're online, they are trainer-led, to John's point, by industry experts and people with real industry experience, that you're able to red team a lot of the time, and have discussions, which often I've jumped into a class and found discussions going on between trainer and students about a particular situation rather than death by PowerPoint. And then just finally, John, firstly, congratulations. I believe that you've got yourself a job, which is fantastic news, and that's really exciting to hear, particularly in the field that you want to be in. So that's really, really great. What skills have you been able to apply, the skills that you've learned through the program, and have you been able to contextualize them in the role that you're currently doing? Although you haven't even really finished your Cert 4 yet, have you been able to apply anything that you've learned in the job that you're in?
Yeah, definitely. So I've got work at a cybersecurity firm. So the tools and stuff that we use at work, I hadn't even heard of before the course. So there's no way I would have been able to have a chance of getting the job if I hadn't actually used them. And I've only been there for a few weeks, and it's already been times where I've had to use some of the tools that we use in the course, and they help out, but they're not going to sit there and teach me the whole thing. So if I didn't have the understanding I've already acquired, then yeah, that would have been no chance. So it's definitely helped out already.
That's fantastic, and I'd love to chat to you a lot more, but I realize that we are running out of time very, very quickly. So, John, all the best for the last home stretch on the cohort until you get that magic piece of paper in a couple of weeks' time, and that magic Australian-based qualification in a few weeks' time. So, thank you for taking the time to join us. Much appreciated. We've got a couple of questions which I think Linus has answered quite a few of them very, very well. In terms of, I think John has spoken to how the courses differ from TAFE was one of the questions. In that our skills program is our program is very, very skills based. We do help you put your CV together, and Linus has spoken to the support that we offer in terms of financial assistance through the various payment platforms. Unfortunately, Australia being at a very unfriendly time place for the rest of the world, the Vice President of Business Development at Wawiwa, with the institution that created the program material in Israel, has sent a message for us, and would love to play it for you now.
Hi there. Thanks for attending this Open Day for Cyber Security Analyst program. My name is Leah, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Wawiwa Tech. Wawiwa is an education management provider from Israel, the startup nation. We help our partners around the world, like CTIA, offer reskilling programs that take people with no tech experience and turn them into job-ready tech professionals. Our Cyber Security Analyst program was developed in Israel based on the most advanced know-how from military units specializing in cyber and leading startups. Did you know, for example, that the firewall concept was invented by an Israeli company? CTIA Cyber Security Analyst program includes not only frontal lectures, but live lab simulations and hands-on practice. We strongly believe that the only way to learn is through experience, and we wish to give you the tools and the confidence to demonstrate your abilities in your next job interview. If you enroll, I'm sure you would enjoy the program, and also certain that you'd manage to guarantee a fulfilling career in the tech industry, where cyber talent is always in demand. On a personal note, I encourage women in the audience to specifically consider this program. The cybersecurity and tech industry needs more women, and cyber is a field that can benefit from women's fresh perspective and calm leadership. I'm myself a graduate of full stack developer program, and while during the years my career diverted towards business development, my training and know-how enabled me to step up the corporate ladder and take a leadership role in tech-related companies. Cyber roles are in high demand in Australia and worldwide, and the pay is great. And I encourage all of you, men and women alike, with or without any background, to take advantage of this great program and promising profession and enroll to the next cohort. The flexible part-time offering enables you to keep your current job while gaining a new profession and building up to your new career. Thank you and good luck.
Thanks, Leah, as always, for your incredible support that you provide and your valuable insights and the difference that you're making to the industry. We are 3 minutes late, for which I do apologize, but I think that our information that we shared was highly valuable. Just before we close out, a massive thank you must go to the production team, Janita and Amanda. Again, you guys rock. None of this would have been possible. All the behind the scenes, setting up the event, setting up the marketing, looking after our speakers today, and putting the presentation together. So a massive thank you to the two of you for yet again another knockout performance. And finally, to our panelists, Charlene, Sean, Chris, Linus, and John, I think, has dropped off the call. Unfortunately, he had to get back to work. Thank you for your invaluable time, for your insights, and I have no doubt that the knowledge and the insights that you have shared will provide great benefit for our attendees on the call today. Thank you to you for attending our open day today. We hope that you got benefit out of it. We hope that you progress. Join us. Amanda has put links into the Q&A box to sign up to our newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter with specific focuses, which are really which are really beneficial to the industry that you would like to get involved in. And also, if you're happy with what you've seen and you'd like to enroll, head over to our enrollment page, which Amanda has put the link in as well. If I didn't get to all your questions, I do apologize. I am mindful of time, but it's been a great pleasure to talk to you this afternoon or this morning from wherever in the world you're dialing in from. I wish you a good afternoon, a good morning, or a good evening, and thank you for being with us.